The smell of fear has a taste metallic, like blood before it spills. Harper Calloway knew that taste intimately as she wheeled herself into Westfield High's cafeteria that November morning. Her $8,000 wheelchair humming against linoleum that had witnessed 1,000 small cruelties. She'd been paralyzed for 8 months, 3 days, and approximately 6 hours. Not that she was counting. Not that she replayed the moment the stage collapsed during dress rehearsal, the sickening crack of wood that sounded exactly like her spine breaking. Not that she remembered Ethan Prescott's father standing in the back of the auditorium that night, cell phone pressed to his ear, face pale as he watched his cost-cutting measures claim their price. The cafeteria stretched before her like a battlefield, 500 students clustered at round tables. The popular kids holding court near the windows where November light made their privilege glow. The smell of industrial pizza mixed with something else. Anticipation, maybe, or the peculiar excitement teenagers get when they sense blood in the water. Harper's wheels caught on a carelessly dropped backpack. She navigated around it, keeping her face neutral, the expression she'd perfected during months of physical therapy. Show nothing. Give them nothing. Her theater training served her well these days, though not for the stages she'd once dreamed of conquering. If you're feeling that rush of what's going to happen next, hit that like button. It really helps more people discover these stories. And if you want to share where you're watching from, drop it in the comments below. For those who want to support more stories like this one, there's a thanks button right under this video. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps me bring you more inspiring tales of courage and standing up for what's right. Thank you for being here. Now, let's see what happens when push comes to shove. Harper! The voice slithered across the cafeteria noise like oil on water. Ethan Prescott stood directly in her path. 6 feet 2 inches of carefully cultivated perfection. Letterman jacket over designer jeans. Hair that cost more to style than most kids' entire wardrobe. His smile could have sold toothpaste if it reached his eyes. It never did. Behind him, his crew materialized like vultures Madison Webb with her predatory cheerleader smile, Colton Rivers cracking his knuckles, and Bentley Morrison filming everything on his phone. Always filming. Their personal documentarian of degradation. Ethan, Harper's voice stayed steady. Another performance. I need to get to my table. Your table. He stepped closer, and she caught the scent of his cologne, something expensive that couldn't mask the rot underneath. See? That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Seating arrangements, hierarchies, the natural order of things. The cafeteria noise dimmed. 500 students suddenly finding their lunch trays fascinating, but watching from the corners of their eyes. Even the lunch ladies stopped serving, frozen behind their sneeze guards like witnesses at an accident they couldn't prevent. Move, Harper said quietly. Ethan's laugh could have curdled milk. Move, that's rich. Coming from you. He leaned down, close enough that his breath hit her face. Mint gum over energy drink. The breakfast of champions with trust funds. Speaking of moving, how's that memory of yours still crystal clear about what you think you saw that night? Or is it getting a little fuzzy? There it was. The real reason Ethan Prescott had made her life hell for 8 months. Not because she was in a wheelchair, not because she was different. Because she remembered. Because in 2 weeks, she would sit in a courtroom and tell 12 jurors exactly how Prescott Construction had used substandard materials in the Westfield High Auditorium renovation. How she'd heard David Prescott on the phone that night, telling someone to handle it when the fire marshal started asking questions. "My memory's fine," Harper said. "Trauma's a funny thing." Ethan straightened, addressing the cafeteria like he was giving a TED talk. "Head injuries especially. They can really mess with your perception, make you think you remember things that never happened, make you see villains where there are only concerned citizens trying to improve their community." Madison giggled, the sound sharp as breaking glass. "So true. Ethan, my cousin had a concussion once. She thought her cat was plotting against her for like 3 months." "Fascinating," Harper deadpanned. "Now move." But Ethan was just warming up. He pulled out his phone, swiped to a video. "You know what else is fascinating? The human body's resilience. Like, look at this guy." He showed her a video of a paralyzed veteran learning to walk again. "Inspiring, right? Makes you wonder why some people just give up." The words hit exactly where he'd aimed them. Harper's hands tightened on her wheelchair controls, knuckles white. She'd had 43 surgeries, spent 6 months being told she'd never walk again. Cried herself to sleep for weeks until her tears ran dry, and all that was left was this sitting in a wheelchair while Ethan Prescott used her pain as entertainment. "Although," Ethan continued, voice dropping to a whisper meant for her alone, "giving up might be the smart choice. My dad knows people at every hospital in the state. Physical therapists talk. Nurses gossip. Accidents happen in recovery. Medications get mixed up. Wheelchairs malfunction. Are you threatening me?" "Threatening?" Ethan pressed a hand to his chest in mock offense. "Harper, I'm concerned about you. We all are." "Right, guys," his crew murmured agreement, their concern as genuine as a $3 bill. "In fact," Ethan said, "I'm so concerned that I did some research on your chair. The Permobil F5 Corpus VS, right, 2,200 pounds of weight capacity. Standing function, active height adjustment. Pretty impressive tech." His smile turned sharp. "Also pretty fragile if you don't maintain it properly." Harper's blood chilled. Her chair was her independence, her mobility, her freedom. Insurance had fought, covering it for months. Her mom had taken a second job to afford the copay. "Don't," she said, hating how her voice cracked. "Don't what?" Ethan pulled out something from his backpack. A hammer. Small. Innocent-looking. The kind you'd use to hang pictures. In the middle of a crowded cafeteria. He held a hammer. "I'm just showing Madison's little brother's tool for shop class. He's building a birdhouse." The cafeteria held its breath. 500 students, 30 staff members, and nobody moved. This was Ethan Prescott, whose father donated millions to the school, whose family name was on the gym, the science wing, the scholarship fund. Who could destroy futures with a phone call? "You know what the funny thing about wheelchairs is?" Ethan tossed the hammer from hand to hand, casual as discussing the weather. "They're symbols. Symbols of limitation, of weakness, of things that are broken and can't be fixed." He knelt beside her chair, running his hand along the wheel. Harper tried to back up, but Colton and Bentley had moved behind her, boxing her in. "Please," Harper whispered. The word tasted like defeat. "Please." Ethan's eyes lit up. "Did you all hear that?" She said, "Please," so polite, so well-mannered. "That's what I appreciate about you, Harper. Even when your whole world collapsed literally, you maintained that dignity, that grace, that stupid, stubborn refusal to accept reality." He stood, hefting the hammer. "But here's the thing about reality. It has a way of asserting itself, of breaking through our delusions, sometimes gently. He tapped the hammer against his palm. Sometimes not. Security, someone called from across the cafeteria. Autumn Chen, president of the drama club, Harper's friend from before. But the security guard was already walking away, suddenly fascinated by something in the parking lot. Another Prescott miracle. "You're going to destroy my chair," Harper said flatly, "in front of everyone, because you think that'll make me forget what your father did." "Destroy?" Ethan looked genuinely hurt. "Harper, I'm disappointed. You're still thinking like a victim. I'm not destroying anything. I'm liberating you. From the prison of this chair. From the burden of false memories. From the weight of thinking your testimony matters." He raised the hammer. "If this reminds you of someone who stood by while power crushed truth, you're not alone." "Wait," Harper said suddenly. "You want to know what I really remember from that night?" Ethan paused, hammer hovering. The cafeteria leaned in. "I remember the sound," Harper continued, voice carrying clear across the silent room. "Not the crash. Before that. The creak of wood that shouldn't creak. Like the building was trying to warn us. I remember turning to Skylar, she was playing Ophelia, and saying something felt wrong. I remember your father in the back row, and how he wasn't watching the rehearsal. He was staring at the ceiling, like he knew." "Shut up," Ethan hissed. "I remember the foreman trying to talk to him during intermission. How your father grabbed him by the collar, shoved him against the wall. I was backstage. But the acoustics in that auditorium, you can hear everything. You signed off on it," your father said. "Your signature is on every document. If this comes out, you burn alone." The hammer trembled in Ethan's grip. "You're lying." I remember after the collapse, lying under the debris, spine shattered, unable to feel my legs. But I could hear. "Your father on the phone, no ambulances yet. We need to control the narrative. Get our lawyers there first." 3 minutes. Ethan, I lay there paralyzed for 3 extra minutes while your father protected his liability. "Shut up." The hammer came down. The sound of $8,000 of medical equipment shattering echoed through the cafeteria like a gunshot. Metal shrieked, plastic cracked. The sophisticated electronics that gave Harper mobility, independence, dignity destroyed in seconds. But Ethan wasn't done. The hammer rose and fell, each blow deliberate and vicious. The standing function that let Harper look people in the eye smashed. The tilt mechanism that prevented pressure sores shattered. The control panel she'd learned to operate like an extension of her own body reduced to sparking fragments. Some students gasped. Others filmed. Most just stared, frozen by the casual brutality of privilege destroying necessity. When he finished, Ethan stood panting over the wreckage. His perfect hair fell across his forehead. His Letterman jacket bore a smear of hydraulic fluid, like blood. Harper sat in the ruins of her independence. Back straight, chin high. She didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't give him the satisfaction. "There," Ethan said, voice ragged. "Now you match. Broken chair for a broken person with a broken memory. Poetic. Right. We studied poetry in English. The symmetry of destruction." He tossed the hammer aside. It clattered across the floor, stopping at the feet of Mrs. Rodriguez, the Spanish teacher. She stared at it like it might bite, then carefully stepped around it. Another profile in courage. "Here's what happens next," Ethan said, businesslike now, pulling out his wallet. "I'm going to give you 5,000 cash. You're going to take it. Tomorrow, you'll develop some concerns about your memory of that night. Maybe the head trauma was worse than you thought. Maybe you're not sure what you heard. Maybe you realize that destroying my family won't bring your legs back." He counted out hundreds, letting them flutter onto the wreckage of her chair. 5,000 now. Another 20 after you tell the prosecutors you're not a reliable witness. That's 25 grand. Harper, more than enough for a new chair, maybe some experimental treatment. Who knows? Miracles happen when you make the right choices. Harper looked at the money scattered like green snow across twisted metal and broken dreams. A small fortune to a nurse's daughter. Blood money from blood hands. "No," she said simply. Ethan's face darkened. "No, you're sitting in a destroyed wheelchair, surrounded by 500 people who saw nothing. In a school my family owns brick by brick. And you're saying no, no. And do you understand what I can do to you? What my family can do? We don't just break wheelchairs, Harper. We break people. We break families. Your mom works at St. Mary's. Right budget cuts happen. Layoffs are unfortunate necessities. Your brother? Oh wait, you don't know. Do you?" Harper's composure cracked. "What about Connor?" "Nothing yet." Ethan smiled, back in control. "But military assignments are fluid things. Training accidents happen, especially in special forces, especially overseas, especially when someone needs to learn that actions have consequences. You wouldn't dare." "Wouldn't I? A year ago, would you have believed someone would let a building collapse rather than spend money on proper materials? Would you have believed that same someone would try to silence witnesses? Would you have believed you'd be sitting here, paralyzed, while I destroyed your only means of mobility?" He had a point. The unthinkable had become routine. 2 weeks, Ethan said. "You have 2 weeks to develop memory problems. After that," he shrugged. "After that, we get creative. And Harper, we're very, very creative." He turned to go, then paused. "Oh, and don't bother trying to get this on social media. Bentley's phone had a little malfunction. Weird how technology fails at crucial moments. Just like stages, just like spines, just like hope." His crew followed him out, Madison pausing to snap a selfie with the destroyed wheelchair in the background. "At Transformation Tuesday," she captioned it. Breaking barriers. The cafeteria remained frozen for 30 seconds after they left. Then, like a spell breaking, noise rushed back. Whispers became murmurs, became a roar of speculation and scandal. But nobody helped. Nobody except Autumn Chen, who rushed over with tears streaming. "Harper, oh my God. Harper, I'm so sorry. I tried to call security, but—" "It's okay," Harper said, though nothing was okay. Nothing had been okay for 8 months, 3 days, and approximately 7 hours. "We have to tell someone. The principal. The police. With what evidence?" Harper gestured at the crowd of students carefully deleting videos from their phones. "With which witnesses?" She looked down at the remains of her chair. The joystick she'd trained herself to use lay twisted at an impossible angle. The seat that had become part of her body split down the middle. 2,200 pounds of weight capacity reduced to scrap metal by a boy with a hammer and immunity. But worst was the standing mechanism, the feature that let her rise. That gave her those precious moments of looking at the world from her old height. Harper had used it every morning, rising up to face herself in the mirror, to remember who she'd been and imagine who she might become. Now it lay in pieces, dreams dissected by privilege. Can you get to another chair?" Autumn asked. Harper almost laughed. Another chair, like they grew on trees. Like insurance companies were eager to replace equipment destroyed by millionaires' chanumsans. Like she could just wheel down to Walgreens and pick up independence off the shelf. The transfer chair, Harper said instead, in the nurse's office, if you could. But Autumn was already running, determined to do something, anything, to help. That's what good people did. They fetched transfer chairs while evil counted money. Harper sat in the ruins and forced herself to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The technique her physical therapist taught her for managing pain. Breathe through it. Breathe past it. Breathe until breathing is all that's left. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something instinct, maybe, or the desperate hope that somewhere in this universe justice existed, made her swipe accept. Harper Calloway. The voice was female, professional, urgent. Yes. My name is Special Agent Sarah Chen with the FBI. I'm calling about the Prescott construction case. We've been monitoring the situation, and what just happened in your cafeteria has been brought to our attention. Harper's heart stuttered. The FBI, we've been building a federal case against David Prescott for 18 months. Fraud, bribery, potential manslaughter, you're our key witness. But we know you're under tremendous pressure. We can protect you. You can't even protect me in a school cafeteria. Silence. Then, you're right. We failed you today. But Harper, this is bigger than one wheelchair or one trial. The Prescotts have corrupted half of Colorado Springs. Judges, police, contractors, inspectors. That stage collapse. It's happened before. Other buildings, other cities. People have died. Harper closed her eyes. Of course it was bigger. It was always bigger. David Copperfield fighting Goliath Industries. What do you want from me? Time. 2 weeks. Just like Ethan said. Let them think they've won. Let them get comfortable. Meanwhile, we're pulling threads, building cases, flipping witnesses. Your brother. What about Connor? Harper's voice sharpened. Ethan said, your brother is safe, more than safe. But I can't say more on an unsecured line, Harper. I know this is hard. I know you've already sacrificed so much. But if you can hold on just a little longer, we can bring them all down. Not just the Prescotts, the whole network. And if they come after my family, then we extract you. Witness protection if necessary. But Harper, I don't think that's who you are. The girl who stayed conscious under rubble to memorize evidence. Who's endured 8 months of hell without breaking. That girl doesn't run. Harper looked at the cafeteria, now nearly empty. The $5,000 still lay scattered across the floor. Abandoned. Blood money that nobody wanted to touch. I need proof you're FBI. Check your email. I just sent credentials. And Harper, your chair had a monitoring system. Right GPS, usage data, maintenance logs. Yes, but Harper's breath caught. The black box, it records impacts for warranty claims. Exactly. Ethan Prescott just committed assault with a deadly weapon, destruction of medical equipment, and felony intimidation of a federal witness. All recorded, all time-stamped, all inadmissible if we tip our hand too early. But devastating when the time comes. For the first time in 8 months, 3 days and 7 hours, Harper felt something she'd thought was as broken as her spine. Hope. What do you need me to do? Survive. Play their game. Let them think you're broken. In 2 weeks, when you take that stand, you won't just be testifying about a building collapse. You'll be the face of everyone the Prescotts have crushed. And Harper. We have something else. Something that will change everything. What? Your brother Connor isn't overseas. He's been back for a week, working with us. And what he's found? Let's just say the Prescotts should have been more careful about who they hired for security. The line went dead. Harper sat in the wreckage of her mobility, surrounded by the debris of casual cruelty, holding a phone that suddenly felt like a weapon. Autumn returned with the transfer chair, a basic model. Manual, like going from a Ferrari to a shopping cart. But it had wheels. It would move. It would get her through 2 more weeks of hell. As Autumn helped her transfer, Harper's hand brushed something in the wreckage. The joystick from her chair, broken but still recognizable. She palmed it, slipping it into her pocket. A reminder, a promise, a piece of who she'd been and who she was becoming. "You okay?" Autumn asked. Harper thought about the question. She was paralyzed. Her chair was destroyed. Her family was threatened. She had $5,000 in blood money at her feet and the full weight of the Prescott empire aimed at her head. But she also had the FBI in her corner, her brother closer than anyone knew, and a black box that recorded everything. "Ask me in 2 weeks," Harper said. As Autumn wheeled her out of the cafeteria, Harper didn't look back at the wreckage. She was already thinking ahead. To courtrooms and revelations. To justice served cold as November in Colorado. Ethan Prescott thought he'd broken her. He had no idea what he'd just unleashed. 2 weeks. 14 days. 336 hours of pretending to be broken, while revolution brewed beneath the surface. Harper played her part perfectly. She arrived at school in the manual transfer chair, shoulders slumped, eyes downcast. When Ethan passed her in the hallway, she flinched. When Madison accidentally spilled coffee on her homework, she said nothing. When Bentley filmed her struggling with the ancient wheelchair ramp, she let him see defeat. "I think she's actually considering it," she heard Colton tell Ethan by the lockers. Yesterday she asked Mrs. Chen about memory distortion after trauma. Ethan's laugh echoed off metal doors. "Of course she is. People like Harper talk big about justice and truth. But when it comes down to it, everyone has a price. Hers just happened to include working legs." If only he knew. Each night, Harper went home and called Agent Chen on a secure line. The FBI had installed equipment in her bedroom scramblers, recorders, enough technology to make the NSA jealous. She gave them names, dates, conversations, every threat, every bribe attempt, every casual cruelty. "Your brother sends his love," Agent Chen said on day 10. "He wants you to know Operation Rebuild is proceeding ahead of schedule." Operation Rebuild. His code name for the investigation. He said you'd understand. Harper did. After their father died in Afghanistan, 11-year-old Connor had started a project called Operation Rebuild, fixing everything broken in their house, from leaky faucets to her shattered dollhouse. "We don't just survive," he'd said, wood glue on his fingers. "We rebuild stronger." Now he was rebuilding justice itself. On day 12, the pretense almost shattered. Harper was in the accessible bathroom when she heard voices through the vent. Ethan and someone older, angrier. "Told you to handle this clean." David Prescott's voice carried the authority of generational wealth. "Not destroy evidence in front of 500 witnesses." "She wasn't backing down," Ethan protested. "The chair was a message." "The chair was a confession." "You idiot. Do you know what my lawyers are dealing with?" The black box survived. Her insurance company has impact data showing deliberate destruction. If the FBI gets wind of this, they won't. You own this town. I own pieces of this town. The difference matters when federal agents start sniffing around. That Chen woman has been asking questions. Harper's blood chilled. They knew about Agent Chen. So handle her too, Ethan said, casual as ordering pizza. You've done it before. Silence. Then David Prescott. Quieter. The construction worker in Denver, the inspector in Pueblo, the journalist who got too close. Yes, I've handled problems, but federal agents leave paperwork trails. Their disappearances get noticed. Then what do? We accelerate. The trial starts in 2 days. Our people in the prosecutor's office will make sure Harper gets aggressively questioned. Trauma does terrible things to memory under pressure. If she breaks on the stand, publicly, dramatically, her testimony becomes worthless. And if she doesn't break, another pause. Then we implement the contingency. Your girlfriend's father, Judge Morrison, has agreed to declare a mistrial if necessary. Technical grounds, jury contamination, something plausible. We retry in 6 months when memories have faded and witnesses have been discouraged. What about her brother, the soldier? David laughed. A sound like ice cracking. Connor Calloway is in Syria. Terrible place. Syria. Training accidents happen daily. IEDs don't discriminate between enemies and allies. Such a shame when heroes fall. Harper bit her hand to keep from screaming. They still thought Connor was overseas. The FBI's deception held. That night, she called Agent Chen immediately. They're planning something for the trial, and they're going to kill Connor. Connor's safe. As for the trial, we're ready. Harper, I need you to trust us. When you take that stand, tell the truth. All of it. No matter what happens, keep talking. What if the Judge Morrison has been removed from the case? Conflict of interest discovered just this morning. You'll be testifying before Judge Catherine Yang. Harper knew that name. Yang was famous for being incorruptible. A former military prosecutor who'd taken down corrupt contractors in Iraq. The Prescotts had to be panicking. Trial day dawned gray and bitter. November showing its teeth. Harper's mother wheeled her up the courthouse steps. Past protesters holding signs, "Justice for Harper," and "Prescott is predator." The FBI had nothing to do with the crowds. Social media had found Bentley's deleted video, recovered by tech-savvy students who understood cloud storage better than he did. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Press lined the back wall. The gallery overflowed with students, teachers, parents. Autumn Chen sat front row, wearing a shirt with Harper's Drama Club photo back when she could stand. The Prescott side radiated money and menace. David Prescott in a $10,000 suit. Lawyers arrayed like artillery. Ethan behind him, cocky despite the circumstances. They'd beaten charges before. They'd beat them again. All rise for Judge Catherine Yang. The judge entered like a force of nature. Sharp eyes swept the courtroom, pausing on Harper. A slight nod. Recognition of one warrior to another. Be seated. The People versus Prescott Construction. Is the prosecution ready? We are, Your Honor. The lead prosecutor looked nervous. Harper wondered if he was one of theirs or just scared. Defense. Ready, Your Honor. Prescott's lead attorney oozed confidence. Though we question the relevance of this witness, given her well-documented trauma and subsequent mental health challenges. Objection. The prosecutor found his spine. Sustained. Save it for cross-examination. Counselor. Judge Yang turned to Harper. Miss Calloway, are you prepared to testify? Harper wheeled herself forward. The witness stand loomed above her, designed for people who could walk. But the bailiff had installed a ramp, small accommodations for massive injustices. I am, Your Honor. She was sworn in. The prosecutor approached, and Harper saw his hands shake. Definitely scared. Not bought. Miss Calloway, please tell the court about the night of March 15th, Harper began. The rehearsal, the strange creaking, her concerns ignored. She testified about seeing David Prescott, hearing his argument with the foreman, then the collapse itself, the sound of her spine breaking, the sensation of paralysis creeping up her body like cold water. While you were trapped, did you hear anything? Yes, David Prescott on his phone. He said, "Objection hearsay," Judge Yang considered. The witness was conscious and alert. I'll allow it. Harper continued. Every word, every detail. David Prescott's face darkened with each revelation. Ethan fidgeted, no longer cocky. Then cross-examination. Prescott's lawyer stood, predatory. Miss Calloway, you suffered severe head trauma. Correct. Yes. And you were on significant pain medication for months. Yes. Medications known to cause hallucinations, memory distortion. I suppose. But just answer the question. Yes or no? Yes. He smiled, scenting blood. You've been paralyzed for 8 months, lost your dreams of Broadway, your whole future. Really, that must cause tremendous anger. It causes tremendous pain. Anger at my client, specifically. The desire for someone to blame. Harper met his eyes. I don't need to manufacture blame. The substandard materials are documented. The safety violations are on record. The only question is whether David Prescott knew about them. Which brings us to your convenient memories. Tell me, when did you first remember these alleged conversations? Immediately. I told the paramedics. Paramedics who reported you were delirious with pain. The questions came faster, sharper, each designed to cut. Harper felt herself fragmenting, the careful composure cracking. This was the plan, break her publicly, devastatingly. Then she saw movement in the gallery. A man in a well-cut suit standing up. Familiar eyes in a face hardened by desert sun. Connor, her brother she hadn't seen in 2 years. Alive, whole, here. Your Honor, Connor's voice carried battlefield authority. I have evidence relevant to this testimony. The courtroom erupted. The prosecutor looked confused. The defense lawyers huddled, panicking. David Prescott went white. Judge Yang gaved for order. Identify yourself. Master Sergeant Connor Calloway, Special Forces. I've been working with the FBI on matters directly related to this case. Objection! Prescott's lawyer practically screamed. This is ambush tactics. We've had no disclosure. Because the witness has been under federal protection, Agent Chen announced, standing beside Connor. Your Honor, we have evidence of witness tampering, conspiracy, and attempted murder. Chambers, now, all counsel. Judge Yang's voice could have frozen flame as the lawyers filed out. Connor crossed to Harper. Up close, she could see the new scars, the weight of whatever shadows he'd walked through, but his eyes remained kind. Hey, Songbird, he whispered, using her childhood nickname. Miss me, she couldn't speak, just gripped his hand. 20 minutes later, the lawyers returned. Prescott's team looked gutted. The jury is dismissed for today, Judge Yang announced. "This trial is suspended pending federal investigation. Marshal, please take David and Ethan Prescott into custody." "What?" Ethan shot up. "You can't—" "Sit down, Mr. Prescott. The charges include conspiracy, racketeering, witness intimidation, and, in your case, assault with a deadly weapon." The marshals moved in. David Prescott maintained his composure. But Ethan crumbled. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. She was supposed to break. They all break. "Ethan!" "Shut up!" his father hissed. But Ethan was beyond caring. "You said we owned this town. You said no one could touch us. You said—" "I said, shut up," as they dragged Ethan out. He locked eyes with Harper. No cockiness now, just the dawning realization that money couldn't buy everything. The courtroom cleared slowly, people struggling to process what they'd witnessed. Harper remained in the witness stand, Connor beside her. "How?" she asked finally. Connor smiled grimly. "Remember Marcus Thompson Prescott's head of security? The one who quit last year. He didn't quit. He flipped. 18 months of recordings, documents, proof of bribes. The FBI recruited me 6 months ago when they realized you were in danger. I've been stateside for weeks helping build the case. They said you were in Syria. The army's good at disinformation when it serves justice." He squeezed her shoulder. "Harper, what you did staying strong, keeping quiet, playing their game, you're the bravest person I know." Agent Chen approached. "Miss Calloway, this is just the beginning. With your testimony and our evidence, we're looking at the largest corruption case in Colorado history. 47 arrests so far. Judges, contractors, inspectors, police, the whole network." Harper thought about 8 months of pain, of learning to exist in a body that no longer obeyed, of dreams deferred and dignity destroyed. What happens now? Now, Agent Chen smiled. Now you heal. The government seized Prescott Construction's assets. There's a victim compensation fund. Enough for the best treatment, the best chair, whatever you need. I don't want their money. It's not theirs anymore. It's justice converted to currency. Connor knelt beside her chair. "Harper, I've been reading the medical reports. The spinal damage. It's not as complete as they first thought. There's a specialist at Johns Hopkins. Experimental treatment. No guarantees. But hope." Harper finished. For the first time since March 15th, she allowed herself to imagine. Not the grand stages of Broadway that dream had evolved, but maybe standing again, maybe walking, maybe dancing at Connor's wedding someday. "There's more," Connor said. "Juilliard called. They've held your spot. Modified program if needed. They want you, Harper. However you come to them." The tears came then. 8 months of held-back grief and fury and fear, flowing free in a courtroom that had seen justice served. Later, as Connor wheeled her out. They passed the holding cells. Ethan sat behind bars, designer clothes replaced with orange. He looked smaller somehow. Privilege stripped away, leaving only the scared boy who'd been taught that power meant never paying for your sins. Harper stopped. Connor tensed. "You sure?" She nodded. Ethan looked up, and she saw him flinch, waiting for her to gloat, to rage, to return the cruelty he'd shown. Instead, Harper said quietly, "Your father made you this way, but you chose to stay this way. That's the difference between reasons and excuses." She left him with that thought, wheeling into a November afternoon that suddenly felt warmer. Outside. The crowd had grown. Students from Westfield, parents, citizens who'd watched the Prescotts' corruption touch their lives. They erupted in cheers when Harper appeared. Autumn Chen rushed forward, tears streaming. "You did it! You actually did it! We did it!" Harper corrected. Everyone who remembered, who recorded, who refused to stay silent. As Connor loaded her chair into their mother's van, Harper touched the pocket where she still carried the broken joystick from her destroyed chair. A reminder of what they'd tried to break, of what had refused to stay broken. "So," Connor said as they drove away from the courthouse, "Operation Rebuild? Ready for the next phase?" Harper looked back at the building where justice had finally found its voice. Then forward, toward whatever came next. Hospitals and hope, stages and second chances. A life rebuilt, stronger than before. "Ready," she said, and for the first time in 8 months, 3 days, and approximately 10 hours, she meant it. The Prescott empire fell like dominoes after that. Each arrest led to 3 more. Each testimony revealed new crimes. David Prescott got 35 years. Ethan, 15. Though he'd be out in 7 with good behavior. Maybe prison would teach him what privilege never had, that actions have consequences. And some things can't be bought. Harper started treatment at Johns Hopkins 2 weeks later. The specialist made no promises, but her first words were, "I've seen worse walk again." It would take time. Years. Maybe. Surgery, therapy, hope, and heartbreak. But Harper had learned something in those 8 months of hell. Sometimes the breaking is just the beginning of becoming. She returned to Westfield once before leaving for Baltimore. The new wheelchair, better than the one Ethan destroyed, hummed smoothly down hallways that had witnessed her humiliation. Students stepped aside, but not from fear, from respect. In the cafeteria. She stopped where it happened. The floor had been cleaned, no trace of the violence remains, but Harper could still see it, the hammer rising, the money falling, the moment she chose justice over comfort. "You know what's funny?" Autumn asked, joining her. "Ethan thought he was teaching you about power, but you taught all of us about strength." Harper smiled. "Strength is just refusing to let them win, even when losing looks easier." As she left Westfield for the last time, Harper passed the auditorium, still closed, wrapped in construction tape and legal proceedings, the place where she'd lost her legs but found her voice. She didn't go in. Some stages you leave behind, others you carry with you. The girl who'd entered that building dreaming of Broadway lights had been broken. Yes, but the woman wheeling away toward treatment, toward justice, toward whatever came next, she was unbreakable. Because Connor was right. All those years ago, they didn't just survive. They rebuilt stronger. And the Prescotts, they learned what Harper had always known. The only thing more dangerous than someone with nothing to lose is someone with everything to fight for.